Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking one of the absolute greatest paradoxes of human existence. I mean, think about it for a second. Why is it that individuals, families, and even massive civilizations that reach the literal pinnacle of success almost always end up self-destructing right after? It's this wild, cyclical trap that has claimed countless victims throughout history.
So why do successful people and prosperous empires inevitably fall? Well, this is the ultimate mystery of human nature explored by author Xu Fang, and it is a seriously compelling hook because it completely flips the way we view progress. You know, we naturally assume that reaching the top means we've won, right? That we're finally secure. But actually, scratch that. The exact opposite might be true. Reaching the top is exactly when we are in the most extreme danger of losing absolutely everything.
All right, let's dive into the foundational concept here. Xu Feng calls this cyclical trap the Indulgence Array. And it basically hinges on this idea that all humans, every single one of us, possess a certain degree of laziness and a natural desire for comfort. But when that desire tips over into pure extravagance and debauchery, things hit a breaking point and inevitably reverse. It's a complete cycle. You move from poverty to wealth, from lowliness to nobility, and then, triggered by that indulgence, you fall right back down into poverty and lowliness.
Section 1. The Paradox of Success. The Trap of Human Nature.
Now, this trap is built on a pretty massive irony. Ask yourself, when are humans actually most capable of striving and working hard? The answer is usually when they are poor and humble. But when are they most likely to fall? Exactly, when they are rich and noble. It's like the very drive that gets us out of poverty just evaporates the second we achieve the wealth and status we were striving for in the first place.
And what's truly staggering here is the sheer scale of the problem. A massive 98% of humanity finds it difficult to escape this indulgence array. 98%! From the downfall of a prosperous civilization to, say, a corrupted family business. The examples are just as vast as the ocean. The gravitational pull of this array is formidable, and honestly, almost unavoidable.
So before we zoom out to macro history, let's do a quick introspection checklist together. Really think about this. When you make a little progress, do you suddenly cultivate pride? When you become slightly affluent, do you start craving comfort? When you receive praise, do you completely lose your direction? And when you attain a bit of status, does your inner self reveal arrogance? We're incredibly vulnerable here. With just a tiny bit of gain, we become arrogant and we just stop striving.
The psychological friction going on here is summarized perfectly by this quote. It is easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. The indulgence array is literally always at work in the background, ensuring that once we get a taste of luxury, our minds narrow and our discipline just dissolves. Trying to turn back? It's incredibly painful.
Section 2. History's Fallen Empires. The Macro Consequences of Comfort. We actually see this exact dynamic play out throughout ancient legends and history. Take the Three Kingdoms period, for example. Zhou Yu planned to neutralize his rival, Liu Bei, not by fighting him on the battlefield, but by luring him into a super luxurious life in eastern Wu. And Liu Bei almost fell right into the array. Similarly, in the legendary epic Journey to the West, the Tang monk only survived and reached the Holy Mountain because he had this unwavering iron will to resist indulgence.
But you know, it's not just ancient legends. Look at the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. This was a massive, incredibly powerful movement in China just 160 years ago. And why did it collapse? Simply because its leaders completely failed to escape the indulgence array the minute they gained real power.
Perhaps the ultimate historical proof of concept, though, is the fall of the ancient Roman Empire. As Rome grew incredibly wealthy, the ruling class started outsourcing all their physical labor to slaves. And instead of becoming these enlightened philosophical leaders, they got entirely engrossed in money and power struggles. As new people who got rich through commerce flooded the Senate, political power became totally corrupted. The elites completely lost the drive to build civilization because, well, they were just too busy living luxuriously.
And the physical reality of that decay was honestly shocking. The Roman writer Columella described elites taking steam baths for the sole purpose of sweating out their indigestion from overeating. Literally, just so they could feel thirsty again and start thinking about their next banquet. Talk about misplaced priorities, right? The source text basically describes them as becoming moldy pockets that can no longer hold any wisdom. Physical extravagance just completely captures the human mind.
To put that into perspective, let's look at how this extravagance scales quantitatively. Under Augustus, there were 66 holidays a year. Okay, a lot. But by Tiberius, it was 87. And by the mid-4th century, the Roman calendar exploded to 175 holidays. That is practically half the year just partying. This level of excess consumes resources, poisons social customs, and destroys the foundational spirit of a nation. It's no different from pulling the firewood right out from under the pot of civilization.
Section 3. The Lifechanyuan Solution. A proposed path out of the trap.
So the big question, how do we actually survive this? Well, to counter this cyclical trap, the group Lifechanyuan proposes an environment they call the second home. This is envisioned as a secluded utopia, a paradise on Earth where the rules are entirely inverted from modern society. In this environment, to specifically avoid that trap of corruption, material enjoyment is strictly limited, while spiritual and mental enjoyment is absolutely maximized.
But here's the catch. Even in a utopia, constant vigilance is required. The text outlines specific, everyday behaviors that act as massive warning signs you're falling back into the array. If you find yourself being petty about food, overly selective about where you live, wasteful with clothes, extravagant in your travel, lazy at work, or if you're taking way more than you're contributing, you are already on the fast track back to decadence. The core danger is deeply rooted in ignoring your non-material life and just giving in to immediate desires.
Section 4. Escaping the Cycle. Actionable Steps for Survival.
Without a strict, actionable framework, even the most beautiful utopia is going to fade away. So the author mandates 3 strict steps for successfully escaping the Indulgence Array. Step 1 is to adhere to your original intentions. Basically, never forget the humility you had when you first started out. Step 2 is a commitment to a specific framework called the 800 Values for New Era Human. And Step 3 is a voluntary daily effort to build your own soul garden, continually improving your non-material life. According to this framework, this is the only definitive way out.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the psychology of human frailty to the literal fall of Rome, and finally to this proposed utopian remedy. So, I want to leave you with a lingering question to really reflect on. Look at your own life, your own daily choices, and your own material comforts. Are you currently caught in the Indulgence Array? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. And as always, keep questioning the world around you.